What's going on, everybody? It's Childish. We're back at it again with another Summoner's War video. Today we're going to be talking about the recent balance patch notes that came out and what the segment that I like to do, which is called the ones to watch. Here with me is a former Educate and Dominate guest, our co-leader in the EpicFail.Delta crew, Mr. Badhands. How are we doing today, boss?
Pretty good, Childish. What's going on?
Oh, not too much, man. I woke up at like 5:30 in the morning to get ready to go to work, and I got blasted away with all these messages about some upcoming buffs and nerfs that people hit me hard with. They were saying, "Rest in peace, Childish. That's it. You're done." I ain't gonna lie. I was pretty down. I was pretty depressed, but.
I mean, you only got two of your main monsters nerfed. I don't know what the deal is.
No, exactly. So, if you guys are new to the channel, welcome to the channel. The Ones to Watch series is something that we do where we paraphrase the balance patch notes that come out here and just focus on some of the up-and-coming units that may have a little bit of a meta change or may influence the meta, ones that we're pretty excited about. Now, don't get me wrong, we will address the elephant in the room with our top 3 nerfs here, but we're going to be spending more of our time on looking at some of these monsters and seeing how they may or may not may impact the Summoner's War kind of meta down the road here. So let's get right into it here. The one on the top of the list, and Comtous's list, by the way, is obviously one of my most rare unit here. We got Iris with the Sweet Revenge passive, getting the buff removal nerf from 75 to 35% chance, decrease there on the passive. Now, I ain't gonna lie, like most people that initially read it, we probably took it pretty hard and we were like, oh man, she's done. But when we think about it in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it was all too bad of a nerf. What do you think about that one, Badhands?
I think it's actually fair. It's one of the few monsters that is probably too OP right now, and they only took away really one aspect of her, and didn't remove the entire thing, just kind of reduced the chance. She still attacks 3 times at both her attacks, so they're still saying 35% on 3 times. So you're still looking at a pretty high percent chance she's going to remove at least 1 debuff. It's just going to reduce the fact that she's going to be reducing the whole team's every single turn like she could before. Right.
And then the concept of having the despair, you still have that mechanic where, I mean, you get the 25% straight resistance to or straight chance to stun, and in addition to that, if you do run a revenge set on her, you still have additional opportunities to remove the bust and essentially stun as well. So I think it's going to be extremely viable. I mean, it was definitely a nerf, and coming from an Irish user, I'm like, no, it needed a nerf. The fact that I could buff remove everybody's skills with 12% accuracy was pretty ridiculous. Now I guess we can go on the flip side. It's 100% activation rate that went down to 60% chance. So I think now it's going to be a little bit harder for all of us. But either way, I think you're right. I think it's right in line now. So I shouldn't be able to do that.
She also kept her heal, which was huge.
Yeah.
And it's really just that. I mean, the nice thing about her was really that she had that heal every single turn. She's still got the skill blocks on skill 2 and still multi-hitting, and so she always still has a chance to remove everything. Yeah, it goes down to 35% chance, but I still think that's still a pretty good amount that it's going to happen quite often. Because I believe run's 30% chance, and that happens almost every turn. So right. It's there's still a high chance you're going to be removing a lot of beneficial effects with it.
Yep, definitely here. Let's take a look at the next one on the list. We got Tableau, the Light Dice Magician, another monster that got nerfed pretty hard here. Initially, it had the attack speed increase of all allies with 2 turns, and now it's going to move to all allies except yourself for 1 turn. And then, of course, you got that added effect of stunning Tableau when the skill is activated and ignores immunity and resistance. So regardless if you have that immunity, you will get stunned. You're still going to be able to reduce the attack bars to 0 and the attack speed of all other allies except yourself.
You're automatically going to stun yourself, even if you have immunity or anything else. You're always going to get stunned. Gotcha. So everyone else still gets everything else, but you automatically get stunned. Doesn't matter if you got will, doesn't matter what's on you.
Yep. And considering the fact that with regards to Tableau, the mechanic of the first skill, I mean, just the whole RNG factor of the monster, the fact that you can violent proc and essentially go right into it like an AoE stun if you get the right roll. I was pretty excited to see that nerf. I ain't gonna lie. I felt like every single time I saw Tableau in RTA, I should have just quit right there. Considering that anybody that uses Tableau generally pairs it with a nice synergistic kind of monster to go along with it, to just kind of control the fight and not let me get a turn. So overall though, you were pretty happy with that nerf?
I think it's pretty fair. I mean, the thing is with Tableau, with the dice effects on skill 1 and 2, where you can just keep going, I mean, you would just see Tableau's just proc, and able to use their third skill again right away. So at least now we guaranteed at least one turn he's down. Even if he violent procs out of it, that's still reducing the chance that he's down. And the attack speed is only one turn. So you're really only giving yourself a one-turn advantage versus a two-turn advantage, which I think is really, really nice. I think it was pretty fair nerf. It wasn't too anything over the top. They didn't take the skill away. It's more just, hey, we stopped him a little bit, but he's still going to be effective and still going to be used quite a bit. Because I know I can see him being used with Velajules all day long.
Right.
Where he goes, they go remove the stun from him. So
yep.
I still think he's got plenty of uses. He'll be still used a lot, but it does make him a little bit more difficult to fit into a team instead of just I can throw him in with anything and it's going to work.
Yep. And I mean, you got Velajules, you even got Raccoonies. I think since Raccoonies' passive is based on the person with the lower HP pool, I think I have to double check that, but Raccoonies' passive can come into play too.
Yeah, if he had the least amount of health, then Raccoony would remove him. Yep.
So essentially, you can play around with effective HP too. Maybe make him a little bit more on a higher defense, runes aspect versus HP pool to kind of make your team work so that Raccoony would focus on that if you time it right with the speed and whatnot. So.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's a fair nerf, and he's still going to be good. It's not anything over the top, but I like that it's just they're reducing the chance that he just goes proc crazy on you, especially in RTA, where they've already reduced Violent. He was one of the few units that would just keep going on you that you just go, it's not even fair. So, fair nerf, and he's still going to be good. He's just not going to be extremely overpowered.
Gotcha. Speaking about fair nerfs, I don't know if I can say this one for the next monster we're talking about here. The Fire Dragon Knight Leica, one of my pride and joys. His counterattack, being able to land that with a 50% chance and stun the target for one turn, going to just a simple counterattack with a 50% chance and no stun at all, dealing 75% of the damage when counterattacking. Yeah. This was a pretty big hit to Leica. Just an extraordinary monster on Guild War offense and Guild War defense. I am pretty shocked to say the least. When I think about Leica, that aspect of the stun made the opponent think, do they want to go for another unit and essentially kill them to make Justice stronger? Or do they want to go after Leica and risk getting stunned? And then essentially you still had a soft counter to that. You had the opportunity to bring immunity. So if you didn't want to focus on Leica, you had the chance. But now there's no reason to really stay away from Leica. You can essentially go after him and not really risk the chance of getting stunned and losing essentially a full turn. What's your take on all that?
It's a huge nerf to him on any sort of defense. I mean, the whole thing with Leica is his second skill works so well with his old passive where if he counterattacks and stuns you, because you're thinking, okay, I'm not going to attack him, I'll save him for last. With his second skill, Justice, increasing damage by people who are dying, he could all of a sudden hit you for a ton because you left him for last. So it played into that, him ability to come out and one-shot you because you were worried about other people trying not to attack him. Now there's really no reason not to attack him. He's going to do more damage than he was doing before in his counterattacks because it's 75% of Dragon's Might, and Dragon's Might hit harder than his passive did. So he's still going to do a little bit more damage than he was doing before on his revenges, and he's got a chance to leave a dot. But a dot versus stun, it's not even close to comparison. I mean, it's going to be hard to make him usable in any sort of defense. He'll still be fine offensively because he's still a super high, hard-hitting nuker. But he's not going to have that sole ability anymore where it's, uh-oh, I'm in trouble, I need someone to pull through for me. Leica's not going to be able to do that anymore.
Right. And just a side note here, because I knew that there's a ton of people that have Leica in the past here. We've talked about it a few times within our community in our EpicFail Evolution chat. When it comes to Leica build, I know that a while back people played around with the hybrid build, but then some people kind of shifted over to kind of going full yellow, considering his passive works. With all the recent changes, I don't think it's going to mess around too much with the build, but you personally speaking, how would you go about building Leica if you were still using it in that Guild War, offense setting?
I would definitely go hybrid now. I don't think you can't really go YOLO anymore. I think you gotta have a little bit more protection for him. I actually think, which is a unit I would love to have, but I don't have, something like a water unicorn would be a perfect complement to him. Given that defense buff, helping him stay alive a little longer. I think Leica's new best friend is going to be defense buff because it's harder to proc his passive with defense buff with people attacking him now. Also, Water Unicorn gives immunity, so immunity plus defense buff for Leica is going to be very, very nice now because people are going to attack him. And the nice thing is on offense, you're bringing him in expecting him to get attacked by one unit, so you kind of know that's going to happen. But I think now you got to build a little bit safer than you did before. The counter thing, hard thing with Leica is though it's only 3 hits, and most things that are hitting him are going to hit hard enough. Even if he's built tanky, he's still going to get hit down basically that amount of damage. So I still think a tanky build in like a defense buff monster like a Emma, a Wind Unicorn, a Messity, something like that is actually going to be really more beneficial than really anything else. But I still think you're probably going to have to go more a hybrid build with a good amount of defense, not just HP, to really try to protect that passive for procking.
Definitely. And speaking of which, I know that we didn't include this in our list, but we can definitely mention it for the 0.35% of people that have it there. The Light Dragon Knight Jaeger getting the ability to increase his passive, his attack power counter when your allies get hit, versus how it originally used to be when your allies became, incapacitated or die. Big change for him. I think it's going to be really unique. He kind of reminds me of the Fire Miao Wang there, Fire Monkey King there. Instead of him getting hit directly, it's his allies getting hit. So, and that accumulates up to 10 times now. So for YDCB and the other 3 people in Summoners War community that have it, congratulations. But again, I didn't really focus on the ones to watch on this one here because it's just something that most people don't have. So I don't think it's really going to change the meta because only 2 people have it. That's about it.
He's going to be very dangerous now.
Yes.
He's going to be a very dangerous unit now.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what he is, AoE Miu Yang. So you got to take him down quick.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So out of those first couple of monsters there, those were the first 3 were our ones that got nerfed. Our top 3 that got nerfed. If you guys have anything else to add with regards to the monsters that got nerfed, please put it in the comment section down below. We're really looking to hear your feedback on it. But now let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's get to the people that we really feel might have a nice impact in the game. I'm pretty excited about it, especially this first one here. One that has been in the game since the beginning, yet no one has ever really focused on it because of a handful of different factors on the unit here. The Fire Ninja Garo coming out of nowhere with a couple of changes. We have a main skill that's going to go from his doing damage proportionate to the attack power to also the attack power and attack speed. And then, of course, his second skill, Dragon Attack, having a 20% buff. But that is, of course, not the biggest thing. The newest thing for him is the Narrow Escape. Instead of having a 50% chance to offset the incoming damage, now it's at a 100% chance, giving you the attack power by 50%, and then this effect is only activated in 1 turn. So from what I'm kind of understanding, Badhands, if you're able to get that next turn and he's able to go, that passive essentially resets, giving him another opportunity to ignore or stop that incoming damage.
Yeah, I think this is going to be definitely one that's going to go under the radar that has some very high potential. I've always liked all the ninjas ever since they made the changes a while back where their second skills all went off attack power and attack speed. And I know the water and wind ones, I mean, I was getting them to hit for like 50k on my runes, which I don't have the best speed and attack really runes that are like really high speed. I didn't when I was testing them out. I now do. So this is definitely one I'm going to be looking at when they come out. And Fire One specifically is that if you're building him really fast, and he gains 50% attack bar when he's hit, so he can't die. So he ignores that, gains 50% attack bar, hopefully can steal a turn, and then that passive resets, he gets to go again, and that just turns into a cycle. Yeah. And if that dragon attack starts hitting as hard as Slicing Winds does with that damage buff, I think he can be very viable as a nuker. Because if he's hitting with attack buff and defense break in that like 30 to 50k range on that second skill, and we'll have to see how much their first skills are doing, but having a unit that's built really fast, if you have a team, especially I'm thinking for me, I know the team I'd run him in, I could see he's gaining a lot of turns. So it'd be also someone very good run with Konamiya, light homunculus, someone who's got refreshes. So he takes that damage, he gets refreshed up, gets to go, gets to keep taking more turns and doing a lot of damage. So potentially, I can see him very good. Of course, downside is ninjas have lower base HP and defense, but their attack numbers are good. So it's easy to get a good amount of attack. So hopefully the plan would be you can kill something turn 1, turn 2, if they attack you, you survive it, and then you kill that thing too. And you just keep surviving until basically the game's done.
Yep. Exactly. That's what I was going to mention to you. I think that people might be looking when they look at the Fire Ninja, like, you know, outside, just from the unit by itself. Yes, the attack bar is great, but it's only 50%. The mechanic that you talked about, bringing units that can resurge, whether it's the Rakunis, the Konamiyas, the Olivias, obviously some of those monsters don't really make all too much sense here. I think Konamiya makes the biggest sense because it gets the attack buff there. But either way, that bonus that you can have, or that kind of command unit that can essentially put somebody on the front line when it comes to attack bar, I think that's really, really going to help out. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of unique combinations in Guild War offense, as well as some of those people that like to use those YOLO 2 command, you know, type of units there in their compositions to try to get first turns and try to, you know, snipe people right out of the get-go. So I'm pretty excited.
I mean, I know my team I'd use them in, or at least try them in, would be my Gemini, and then Speed Nuker, and then 1 or 2 units, either my Ganymede or my Light Homunculus. And that'd be kind of the same thing. He's the goat, just keeps taking turns that Light Homunculus, keeps refreshing him, or Ganymede keeps reducing everyone else's attack bar. Yep. That he can basically get that kill, and if they proc and attack him, hopefully he doesn't die. Yep. Because the only thing I can really see killing him is multi-hits, because I don't know how that's going to work. That's just have to kind of see to the passive. But like, say, for example, I'm trying to think, he's a fire unit, so like a strong water unit, like a Theo hits him with first skill because it survived, and hits him. He narrow escapes, increases attack bar, and then kills Theo, and then something else hits him, kills him again, but he narrow escapes, gets more attack bar. I just see him taking so many turns now. It's be interesting to see how that mechanic works.
Right. Yes, definitely here. All right. Let's see what we got for the next one here. We're moving on to the Occult Girls here. Out of all the changes that have been made, we're giving the spotlight to the Wind Occult Girl, Miss Charlotte here. We got the attack speed decrease that is added on to the second skill, Toy Knight, as well as the third skill, Wind Guardian Angel, that's going to have a decrease of the attack bar coming from 50% all the way to 30%. This is going to be extremely good, my man. What do you think about this?
I mean, it just made Charlotte almost on level with Poseidon right now, and Poseidon's been very, very strong recently. The only thing that's give Poseidon the edge is leader skill, but we're talking a triple attack, right? So she attacks 3 times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she attacks 3 times.
I wish I had one. So it's going to reduce down to 90 if all of them hit, but it's a triple attack, so you're having more chances that you get at least some attack bar reduction, and 30% is a good chunk where they're not going to be able to proc Nemesis through that. So you're reducing definitely some attack bar consistently. And then to me, the Toy Knight adding the attack speed slow is huge, because you're getting a stun, and then they're going to be moving slower. It allows your team to get more turns, allows you to, let's say you got behind in your turns, that gives you a stun, gives you a slow. You can start building your turns up again from there, start getting turn advantage. So I really think she's going to be very, very strong. I think she's strong already. I just think this is going to bring her up to that little bit, that next level.
Yeah, definitely. I haven't nothing else to add there. Me being a Charlotte user, I mean, for Guild War offense, I'm pretty excited about that. I have Charlotte, Bastet, Megan. Generally, I don't have any issues with the comp, but any time that I'm going in there with a little bit of concern, especially since my Lucian is not perfectly synced with my team, then it just makes it a little bit that much easier if they're not running Will, so I can take advantage of that. Definitely.
I mean, you got to look at it this way. It's one of the reductions is going to be the same as 2 before.
Yeah.
So even if 2 miss and only 1 hit, that's like having 2 hit before. That's a very good buff.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I'm excited. Let's see what we got here. The next one up on the list is actually going to be one of the first units we'll talk about that is essentially free to play. The Light Vagabond Darien coming out of the woodworks here with that passive coming up from 15% to 20%. And then for all of the Vagabonds on their second skill, they're getting the damage based on not just max or attack power, but now attack power and max HP. When it comes to Rift of Worlds, I'm pretty darn excited about it. I think we can make an argument that it might be a little bit more favored as a user if you have, if you already have, like you said, a couple of Diaz's in there or whatnot, or if you have your hit point to service covered between your three teammates. I ain't gonna lie, I'm pretty excited for everybody in the Summit Sword community, just simply for the fact that if you weren't around for the Diaz HOH, now you have a choice here that's going to be really, really beneficial to your comp.
One of the other underrated things is like we're doing RTA or RTA. Geez, I can almost talk. We're doing raid right now. You're running a support team. I think Darian is going to be massive for support teams because he's giving you 5% extra survivability on your support team. And normally your support team is just other units you have thrown together, and hopefully they kind of work a little bit. So he's going to add more survivability to your support team if you have Diaz in your main team. But let's say your team really lacks defense break. Darian might be a better sub-in than Diaz for your support team, for your main team, because now he's giving you that defense break on revenge instead of HP recovery. So, like you're saying, if you got enough HP recovery counted for in your team, like let's say 2 other people are running Diaz and everyone's running Colleen, and you're feeling like, okay, my monsters are pretty solid. I almost always complete raid 5, but sometimes I struggle. It might be worth it, even if you have Diaz, to switch him out with Darian. Obviously, Diaz still gets the edge because of the leader skill, but if you don't need the leader skill, I think Darian now becomes pretty much almost the preferable choice, especially because they also just increased his second skill to also include his max HP instead of just attack power.
Yeah, most definitely here. Nothing else to add on there. I think that's pretty much on point. Moving on to the next one here, the mermaid category. We got a couple to talk about. We wanted to really focus on the wind one here, but the fire mermaid here, just to mention that burning hearts going from the 2-turn silence to the complete max, cooldown there on the third skill here, almost similar to a segment without the ability to remove will if they have it. A poor man's segment. What do you think about that, Badhands?
It's a poor man's segment, but that skill also hits for like 20k if runed correctly. So I mean, it's an interesting skill because it's a nuke with a max cooldown reset. So she's got a very weird kit, and she's always had a weird kit, but I like the change going from silence to max skill cooldown because you can use her against a lot more units now. Because you can even use her against Theo, really. Because she's got buff removal on 1, that res/heal on 2, and then now a pretty good nuke ability with resetting cooldowns. So could be good against Jasoons, could be good against Eladriels, who you see a lot in Guild Wars now. So could be a solid option, but it's a good option to have as a backup, especially if you don't have a segment and you're needing something that does set cooldowns to max. Or sorry, your cooldowns get reset to max. So I think she'll be a weird option, but solid.
Yeah, I think a good point that you made a note on there was building it in a certain fashion. Like if you build it correctly there, because if for those that didn't know, her first skill is also based on max HP, with an option to remove beneficial effect, and then of course her second skill has the ability to heal an ally for 30% with a 30% attack bar increase, or revive if you so choose. So it was one of those units that when it first came out, it really was unique. Some people played around with it, but it kind of got overlooked by other monsters in that 4-star category. And so, now I think, you could definitely play around with it. Lord knows we all have 20 or so mermaids sitting in our monster box here ready to go. So that being said, considering the next monster we're talking about, we may be considering maxing out this particular monster here. We got the Wind Mermaid. I don't know how you pronounce it. I want to say Chiclet, but I know I get it wrong every single time. Crushed Hopes on the third skill, a 3-turn cooldown skill that most people didn't even really know. It used to be 50% chance of removing a beneficial effect and hit 3 times. With that defense break as well as a skill increase. Now it's a 100% buff removal on the first hit, and then the second 2 hits with a defense break and a skill cooldown, those are going to be at a 50% chance with each attack. I'm pretty excited about this change. What do you think?
I really like the change. It's a buff. It's also kind of a nerf, but mostly a buff.
Nerf,
but I like it. The buff is consistency. The buff basically changes it from, okay, that first time you're attacking, you're going to basically remove a beneficial effect, obviously, before accuracy resistance. And that's just going to happen. So you don't have to defense break got applied first turn, but there was a will, so I didn't get it on there. So now it's that first skill will remove will or remove immunity if that's the only buff they have. The downside is in the old one used to remove 3. So if you had like will and shield, it removed will, remove shield, and then keep going down that way. So now it's just 1, but it's 100% chance up from 50. So I think that's much better for consistency because you're always going to have at least a chance to remove 1 beneficial effect. And then it's still going to apply that defense break and still apply the skill cooldowns on the next 2 attacks. And people have already been starting to build and use this unit. And I think this is just going to make it so much better. Also because lower down in the patch notes with the Wind Mermaid, she's also getting a stat modification. So they're changing her stats to be better for a support unit. And they're changing her awakening skill. So overall, I think they're going pretty much all in on the Wind Mermaid, and I'm pretty much all in on it too because I really think with these changes, it's going to make it that much more solid, and it already was a pretty solid unit to begin with.
It definitely was, and so. Just adding on to that, one of the things that I like to mention with regards to some of these 4-star monsters here, one of the things that we really overlook, we look at the kit overall, but we don't take a look at the fine print and take a look at the skill ups for the monsters and seeing how it turns out when it comes to cooldowns. She's one of the handful of 4-star monsters out there that get that 3rd skill, her bread and butter when it comes to her kit, at a 3-turn cooldown. So considering the fact that this is generally a monster that people do utilize on like a violent set or whatnot, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to go through your 2nd and 3rd skills and take advantage of it. Both of them being on a 3-turn cooldown. It's really going to be unique. I've seen a couple of different influences out there. Probably the one that I've seen the most that basically kind of trolled with it was Scaphetus here. He had a blast with it, and it was pretty legit. He played around with the different compositions and made it work despite what other people thought. So it was good to see that work.
The other really important thing with Wind Mermaid is they changed her awakening effect from accuracy, and now it's enhanced air shield. So her air shield is going to be equivalent to max HP instead of level, which it was before, and it decreases the cooldown from 4 to 3 turns, which then the skill I believe goes down to 2 now. If I read that correctly, I might not have read it completely correctly, but I think that's going to be very, very interesting if that's indeed the change. And so we're talking about like buff removal on skill 1, 2-turn cleanse / shield on 2, and then that skill for 3 turns on 3. That's going to be very, very solid.
Yep.
And then Fire Mermaid, which we touched on before, her awakening getting changed to 100% buff removal and having it according to her max HP. That's why we were talking about before, that max HP on 1 makes it a lot more usable as a unit. But to me, that Wind Mermaid, just overall kit, it became very strong. And hopefully with the stat modification, she'll have good base stats now as well, you're really a lot more appealing to be looking to build her.
Definitely. And so when it comes to this build, for the people out there that are getting ready to build it out of nowhere, what do you think? Violent Will, Speed HP with a crazy amount of HP substats?
I'm thinking probably Violent Will, HP with good amount of speed would probably be the best because she's going to get targeted. It depends on your speed subs, but it kind of just depends on your playstyle. You can go speed on 2 as well, but I'm thinking if you're around like 40k throwing shields up, that's going to be ridiculous. In around 200 speed still. Obviously, that's like late game runes, but speed HP for the most people is probably going to be the way to go. Try to get like at least 30k. And it's just really to depend on our base stats how high of HP you can get because we don't know what they're going to be yet because they're going to change from what they are currently. So it's going to be interesting, but probably speed HP, Violent Will for now with some good accuracy stats because you want to be able to get that buff removal and defense break and skill block. So those are going to be the most important things to land from her.
Gotcha. All right, moving on to our last unit here. As far as the ones to watch, we got Brandia, the Fire Polar Queen, getting a change on her 2nd and 3rd skill, starting out with Aura of Dawn. For those that didn't see, it was initially a shield with an attack break on your opponent without hitting them, and now that's going to be turning to an AoE that's going to be able to decrease the attack power and the glancing for 2 turns with an 80% chance. And then, of course, on the third skill, Touch of Mercy, it has a new added effect. If you guys already didn't know, that skill does an absurd amount of damage, but now if the target is immune to sleep or has immunity to sleep, it will be inflicted with 50% more damage. So essentially, if you don't have that opportunity to have a ton of harmful effects here, as the skill does damage, has added damage based on the amount of harmful effects it has, if it doesn't have any immunity or it doesn't have any at all, you're still going to get a little bit of a bonus on damage, which makes her really, really nice with the upcoming changes here. What's your overall thoughts on that?
I'd be interesting to see if the third skill works how I think it's going to work, with the added effect already adding on to her added damage of having dots on the monster. Because if that's the case, that's going to be a ton of added damage, and she's going to be your raid MVP. Like, I can easily see 100Ks hitting the boss now from her, because that's where she was before, all the changes they made to her, where she was hitting ridiculously hard. So I can see that happening again, and I love the fact they got rid of Aura Dawn. I hated that skill. It didn't make any sense to me. I think now having 3 debuffs on her as well, she's going to be very, very solid in R5. You got a defense break on skill 1, you got attack break and glancing on skill 2, and then you've got a huge super nuke on skill 3. Yep. I really think all of a sudden now Brandy has finally found her use as a new raid goddess. Yep. And pretty much I think if you have her, basically watch out for the first couple weeks, because someone's definitely going to try her out. And if she works how I think she's going to work, you're going to want to put her in your raid team.
Yep, definitely. I'll give a quick shout out to Shredded Puzzle, as I know he has a brand and he's really excited to test it out for you guys. So if you guys haven't checked out his channel, definitely tune in to these next couple of days, as he's going to be putting some of his best runes on that monster, so you guys can see the potential of what Brandy can do for you. Overall, though, I think that was pretty much it. We talked a little bit about the AI improvements on some of the monsters that we already mentioned here. Outside of that, I can't really think of anything else to add. They had the little judgment modification there for Julton and Epicon Priest regarding the critical rate hits. Whenever it gets hit, if it is, only the last hit lands as a critical counts when deciding whether to activate the passive. Now, if you at least hit 1 critical hit, then it will count as a critical hit there. Anything else you wanted to kind of add on that, or anything else that we talked about today, Badhands?
No, that was pretty much it. I mean, overall, it's a pretty fair balancing patch. As with every balancing patch that comes out, you always want more, but you got to take what they give us, and I think they gave us plenty of things to work with, and hopefully at least some new units that have been sitting in our storages for literal years will get some usage.
Definitely. I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm pretty sure that I have enough skill ups to max out the Fire Ninja, since it has a passive, so it probably only needs like 7 or 8 skills. I'm looking to try that out for you guys, and then more than likely the Wind Mermaid, I'm gonna go ahead and build and give it a go here. I do think I have an extra Violent Nemesis or Violent Will set that I can, if not test out or borrow from somebody else just for the time being to see what I can do to synergize it. But outside of those two, I'm already using the Charlotte and the Vagabond, so nothing really to change there. But I'm really looking forward to trying those two out. Anything that you're going to be trying out right now,
I'm mostly going to be looking back at my ninjas, so wind, fire, light, water, testing them all out, seeing which ones I like, because I have a feeling I'm going to end up using at least one of them, because I also use a Gemini and Light Homunculus a lot in Guild Wars together, so I'm probably going to try out that Light Ninja as well for a faster leader skill, because why not? Because that team relies on taking the first turn, so you can speed up everyone. I'm going to definitely be taking a look at that, and then definitely going to be looking at Wind Mermaid for sure, and we'll just have to see basically how, when we find out really how Leica's working, try to find some way to make him work, because I still think he's got potential to be solid. I just think you're gonna have to work a lot harder to build a team around him now.
Yep, definitely. Right on. Well, that's gonna be it, guys, for our episode of The Ones to Watch, talking about the balance patch of some of the upcoming units that may change the meta. As I always like to finish off, this is just our list, and based on our opinion, what is your guys' one to watch? What are some of the units that you think are going to make a pretty big impact in the game? Please do me a favor and put it in the comment section down below. In addition to that, if you haven't seen already, not only Badhands is the former Educate and Dominate guest, as well as our co-leader, but he also is a YouTuber. So if you can do me the honor of giving him a shout out here and checking out the link at the top right on the information screen, I would gladly appreciate it. Once again, Badhands, thank you for your time coming aboard and making this video with me.
No problem, Childish. Thanks for having me.
Alrighty, guys. Well, that's going to be it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It's your boy Childish of Badhands with ChildishPlays checking out. Take care, and we will see you next time, guys. We're out.